Welcome to the Couchsurfing podcast with your host, Tim Brussel. Today's guest is Austin. Welcome.
Thank you.
How's it going, man?
Oh, it's going well, man.
Yeah? It's, I was going to say it's an early Saturday morning, but it's not. It's like 10 past 1. I'm a little bit hungover. That's probably why. But you've been up early, yeah?
Yeah, man. Yep, I've been up since 8.
Yeah. Are you planning a big party tonight, or what are you doing there?
Yeah, we're having a big flat party, so getting it all out.
Yeah. So you're a student here in Oslo, Norway?
Yes, sir. Yeah, for 1 year.
For 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
And how far into it are you?
I'm about 2 months in right now.
2 months in?
Yeah.
Okay. And what are you studying?
I'm studying humanities.
Humanities?
Yeah.
And can you explain a little bit more what that is?
Yeah, so back home in the U.S. they have a degree called liberal arts, which is basically it's just a broad umbrella term for the study of human social sciences.
Okay.
So they don't really have an equivalent in Norway. So it's you can take anything from psychology, history, languages, and so it's very broad, and so I get to explore a lot of different things.
Okay, cool. So you get to experience all of those you just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So did you study anything similar like that before, or how did you decide on that?
That's a good question. I wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do when I got to university.
Okay.
But I did know that it wasn't going to be math or science based because I'm just that's not my expertise.
Yeah.
So, I decided that liberal arts would be good because I could try a bunch of different things and I could keep developing myself.
Yeah.
So I could just keep going with what I like learning about.
It sounds cool. It sounds like something I would do too. Like if you're not sure, you try something that's really broad. You can try different branches, stuff.
Yeah, and I find that they all bleed into each other. So everything. Yeah, they're all connected. So I enjoy that part of it as well. Kind of piecing everything together.
Yeah. So do you have a future plan with it, or you just doing this now and then you see what's going to happen, or? Like, are you hoping this will lead into, like, developing within one of the branches, or what's the plan?
Yeah, I think for the moment I'm doing it, and then when I finish, we'll see where I'm at. I've thought about teaching before, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to be in schools all the time.
Okay.
So it's hard to say right now.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm just I'm keeping it open.
Yeah. Okay, but we need to know a little bit about your background. Where are you from?
I'm from Colorado in the U.S. From a town called Fort Collins, which is
Fort Collins. Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
It's like 150,000 people. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like my hometown.
Okay.
It's like it's not big, but it's not super small either. It's like. So, how's that city to like grow up in?
It's perfect. It's right on the Rocky Mountains.
Yeah,
it's right in the foothills. So, that's just perfect. You have access to all kinds of anything outdoors.
Yeah. Sounds cool.
And biking is quite huge there. So the whole city's very bike friendly. So.
Okay, biking, yeah. But I was thinking like mountain biking, like in the mountains and stuff. But that too, or
that as well,
like off the road.
No, but more like road biking and just biking is transportation.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Isn't it very cold then?
No, Colorado's it's really dry, but it's very sunny.
Okay.
Like, you'll have. I think there's 300 days of sunshine a year or more.
Really?
Yeah. Even
wow.
It's like when it's snowing, it'll be sunny, and it's just that's one of my favorite things about Colorado is just.
Yeah.
They say if the weather's bad, just wait 10 minutes, and most likely the sun will come out.
That's so cool. I've never been there.
Yeah, man, you should.
Think I should
you
go.
should definitely go if you get the chance. I love Colorado.
That's cool. So, your family, like you got siblings?
Yeah, I have one brother. He's going to school at Brown University right now
Okay.
in Rhode Island. So he's in his sophomore year now.
What
So
does that mean?
He's 2 years younger than me.
Okay.
So he's in his second year of university.
How old are you?
I'm 21 right now.
21. Okay.
Yeah.
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 So, did you go like straight from high school to come here, or did you do something in between?
I did 1 year of university, and I did one semester in Montana
Okay.
and one semester in Colorado, back in Fort Collins, and then I left to go traveling for a year, and then I came back from that and did another year back in Fort Collins, and then now I'm here.
Okay, but so you said you did the total a year total at the university. So
2 years.
2 years. So
Yeah.
what did you study then?
Liberal arts as well.
The same.
Mhm.
Oh, sort of.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And how did you end up here, like in Norway, of all places?
That's yeah. I knew that I wanted to have another experience outside of Fort Collins, and preferably outside of the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Just because, yeah, I missed being around all kinds of different people.
Yeah.
And I feel like I learned a lot more in those situations, and I matured a lot more. So I wanted to, I wanted to leave and find that again. And so, I was thinking that I would just leave university again and go traveling again.
Okay.
But it turned out that it was better for me to go study abroad.
Mm-hmm.
And have, so I'll finish my degree in 3 years. So this is my last year of university.
Okay.
So it'll turn out really well. I finish my schooling, and then I'll have been in a new place for a whole year. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
So what would the name of the degree be? Like after 3 years?
It would just be like a bachelor in liberal arts. Yeah.
All right. But how did you decide on Norway?
I had a choice between Prague, Istanbul, and here.
Okay.
And I think the University of Oslo, just the classes looked more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And Oslo didn't seem to be that large, and it also had seemed to have good nature access, and so I do all right in cities, but I find that after a while I need to get out and explore,
okay.
take a walk in the woods or something like that. So I thought that Oslo would be a good choice, because then I could have
Mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I could have a mix of city, and then if I'm really feeling claustrophobic, then I can just go for a walk.
Okay, so you've been feeling like that, like before?
Yeah,
like
just
with big cities. Is that because how you grow up, like in nature, like Fort Collins? Do you think that's why?
I think that does have something to do with it. Just being exposed for as long as I can remember to the benefits of being outside, and just the freedom of it. And so I think when I was traveling, a lot of the time I would end up in these huge cities, and it would just be kind of difficult after a little while.
Which parts would be difficult, you feel?
Just kind of being surrounded by cement all the time. It was very strange, and it was also strange to think of people that had kind of lived their whole lives without really experiencing nature, with their main experience of nature being a park nearby.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I really came to appreciate it a lot more. Just being outside.
Huh, that's interesting. I mean, my hometown, I don't know. I really can't say if we have a lot of nature or not. It's not a big city, so I guess we do. And more than parks, but still, like, I don't know. Maybe it's location and the climate in my hometown. Like it gets really cold in the winter. It's like a summer town. So the summer season, you have lots of tourists and happy days, and then the winter comes and it's like it's too small, so there's nothing to do.
Yeah,
And it's really like wet, cold climate, like windy and stuff. So gets really dark and depressing during the winter. So I don't know. I feel like most people, or a lot of people from my hometown, like to move to bigger cities, or at least, I mean, I'm really happy that I come from a small town, but I'm happy that I don't live there anymore. Like I made it to a bigger city. But I wouldn't want to do the opposite, like just grow up in a big city, just like you say. But I just feel like I don't mind at all living in the city. Of course, nature is nice, but I don't feel it's that far anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, it seems like in my experience of Norway, really, nature, you're never really that far from it.
No.
Anywhere you are. I mean, even Oslo being the biggest city in Norway, the access to nature here is it's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, but it's also we don't have that many tall, big buildings, so you don't have the feeling like you're like surrounded.
Yeah.
Too, it's like they're not high at all. You can like see nature.
Yeah, and
easier than other big cities.
You can take. I mean, from here it's 15 minutes by metro to nature, to hiking in Sognsvann and walking around, and so I think that's pretty unique for a city. At least the ones that I've been to.
Yeah, but it's a pretty small capital.
Yeah,
I think it's 600,000-700,000 people living here.
Yeah, if I don't know if it's even that. Yeah, it's something like that.
Something like that. So you went to university for 1 year, and then you traveled with a year, and then back to university again.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you travel?
I traveled for
like did you travel for a full year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 11 months. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's long.
Yeah.
So how did you save up to that? Like, did you just work a lot, or?
Yeah. My when I came back to Colorado after Montana, I was going to school full time and then also working full time. Mm-hmm. So I was just really pushing for it because I knew that's what I wanted to do. So
where did you work?
I worked at a 24-hour coffee shop, and then I worked at a store that sold like used vinyl and
awesome.
books. Yeah. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So that the vinyl store was my main job. I worked a lot there, and then at the cafe as well.
Okay.
So
how long did it take? Like a year to save up?
Yeah, it was probably. I think it was maybe 9 months, something like that. 10 months.
But did you stay at home then, so you could save up?
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. Really.
Yeah. Yep. I was saving like every penny,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So did you have a main goal, or like where to start and where to go, or did it like change during the trip?
It definitely changed. Originally, I was thinking that I would go to India for a year and go straight from the U.S. And at some point, I realized that it would be better for me to start in some place that would be easier for traveling, just in terms of like speaking, maybe speaking English, or being in a place where the cultural differences are not so vast, especially with me traveling alone.
Yeah, you went up by yourself, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, so I think I ended up picking Australia because it was in my thinking, it was it was on the way to India.
Okay.
And
that's funny.
But it it was English speaking. It was not the same culture as the U.S., but
no.
Definite similarities.
Yeah.
And easier to travel in. And so I decided that I would start there and then kind of have that be my jumping off point for hopefully India or wherever else I wanted to go. So
why was your mind set on India? Any particular reason?
No, I really I've thought about that, and I don't really know.
No?
I just at some point it was that's where I'm going.
No secret crush, Indian girl.
No.
Girl from India.
All right. No. Yeah, it was. I'm not entirely sure. I've never figured that out.
So you started with Australia. How long did you stay there for?
I ended up in Australia for 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Did you do the East Coast thing?
No. Well, yes and no. I actually flew to Perth.
Okay.
First.
Yeah.
And I'd met a guy just maybe like a month before I left. An American guy who was going to Australia as well. And so I just met him purely by accident and talked to him for about 30 seconds. And after 30 seconds, we had decided that we were going to travel in Australia together.
Oh, cool.
So he left. He'd been in Australia for about a month before I showed up.
Yeah.
But by the time I flew to Perth, he had we had co-bought a van together, and so he picked me up in the van from the airport at Perth.
Yeah.
And so we basically spent 3 months wandering around Australia in a van.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So yeah, it was fantastic. Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah. The Australian landscape is just there's nothing comparable to it.
Yeah, that's really cool. Now the only reason I asked the 3 month thing sounded a bit weird, but that's what I did, and that's from talking to people. I think a lot of people do they're there for about 3 months and they travel the East Coast.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. No.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's a lot, and I'm actually really glad that I ended up flying into Perth.
Yeah.
Because.
How is Perth?
Perth?
Yeah. Is it super big, like Sydney, Melbourne, or?
I think it's about the same size as Adelaide, or maybe Melbourne.
Right. A little bit smaller.
Yeah, I think it's like 1.2 million, something like that.
Okay.
So I didn't experience too much of Perth Central. We were staying a little bit outside of the city in the bush. But yeah, I liked Perth. It didn't strike me as the craziest city I'd ever been to.
No.
But I think the rest of Western Australia was what was really just astounding to me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, just because I think there's 2 million people in the territory of Western Australia.
Okay.
And 1.2 of them are in Perth.
Oh yeah.
So as soon as the state of Western Australia is almost half of the continent, and so as soon as you leave the city, everything just falls away.
Yeah.
And you're left with just these vast stretches of nothing.
Yeah.
Of just outback and yeah, you and the van and the outback.
Yeah.
So it was just the vastness of it was so overwhelming.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's so big, and you you hear stories like you need to always have, I don't know, 10, 15 liters of water and food, because if your car breaks down, it can be like 3-4 days before no one passes, right?
Well, I think.
Did you have to do those survival mode tricks?
I think it wasn't that intense.
All right.
On the main roads, there's still people. There's definitely still people. It's not not waiting for days.
Maybe you were following like a road.
Yeah.
Maybe I think I was thinking of like the middle Australia if you cross.
Yeah, because you don't want to go off the main roads if you don't know where you're going. That's the thing is, yeah, you just have to. You have to be smart and you have to know your limits at that point, because that's the thing. If you do get lost out there, then yeah, it can be quite dangerous. Yeah. So yeah, we were careful about that.
Have you seen the movie Wolf Creek?
No.
You haven't?
I think somebody was telling me about it though.
You should see it. Oh my god. I'm just so happy that I saw it like when I left Australia. I was staying at a friend's place in Sydney, Australians, and we watched it like 2 days before I flew out of Australia to New Zealand, and I was really happy I did that I didn't watch it like when I went over or before. It's scary, and it's scary, and it's based on true stories, like facts. So
okay.
Pretty scary.
Man. Yeah.
Check it out. All right, so after Australia, did you fly straight to India?
After Australia, at the end of my time in Australia, I was actually in Brisbane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I had a 3-month visa, and so I was reaching the end of it, and I wasn't. I wanted to work more, and I wanted to save up some money so that I could keep going for as long as possible. And so...
But you didn't have a working holiday visa.
Exactly. And so, and in order to get it, I would have had to fly somewhere else and then apply for it.
Yeah.
And hope that I would be accepted, and then fly back.
Yeah.
And then find work. So I decided not to go that route. And I decided to apply for a visa in New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah, because they have a month or a year-long working visa, and so I applied for that, and they accepted me, and they actually, they waived my fee, so I got a free working visa for Australia.
Wow.
So
cool.
Or for New Zealand, pardon me. And so I decided to, I decided to go. And so I flew out of Brisbane to South Island.
Okay.
Yeah, just a few days after I got accepted.
And how long did you stay in New Zealand?
I was there about 2.5 months.
2.5 months?
Yeah.
Where did you work?
I worked a little bit in Dunedin, which is on the southwest coast, or southeast, pardon me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's...
Like, what did you do?
That was pretty much odd jobs. I ended up working for this really posh, nice department store.
Okay.
Just like moving boxes and doing kind of manual labor for them for a little bit. And trying to find a cafe job. But I think they were not interested in more of a... They didn't want somebody so transient as I was.
Yeah.
And so I ended up going further north to a place called Blenheim, which is still on South Island. But it's a huge agricultural area, and that's where most of New Zealand's wine is produced. And so I ended up living in a working hostel there, and doing all kinds of strange jobs, but a lot of them having to do with wine in some sense.
Yeah, I know a lot about the New Zealand wine.
Did you end up there, or just New Zealand wine?
Just New Zealand wine.
Okay.
No, because you were a backpacker, and both in Australia and New Zealand. I think, it just said a bag of goon, and it was like 4 liters wine, 4 liters of wine for like 60 kroners. What's that, like $10 or something?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
when you are on a tight budget, that's what you do.
Yeah, there was, it was amazing. Everywhere for miles and miles, it was just vineyards as far as the eye could see. So yeah,
that's cool. So what did you say? 2.5 months you ended up in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of my time I ended up in Blenheim. Yeah, in the northern part of South Island. So
you never went to the Northern Island?
No. I was planning on spending some time traveling Australia or no, traveling in New Zealand before I left, but I applied for my Indian visa, and one thing that they don't tell you about Indian visas is that it begins the day that you receive it, or that they accept it.
Okay.
And so I applied through their embassy. I think it was in Wellington. And so when I got it back, my visa had been accepted, but it already started.
Okay.
And so,
wow.
Yeah. So I kind of.
But does it matter? Like how for how long is it valid?
Well, I asked for a 6-month multiple entry, but they only gave me a 3-month single entry, and so at the time I was thinking, well, if I only get 3 months in India, and it's single entry, so I can't leave and come back, I should go now. And so oh man, I don't know. It must have been a turnaround of only a couple days. I'd bought a ticket out of Christchurch and Christchurch to Calcutta, and hitchhiked down to Christchurch, and then flew out the next morning.
Okay, so you landed in Calcutta.
Yep. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Straight into Calcutta.
Yeah.
Which was I don't
know anything about it. I've never been to India actually.
Oh yeah, that was a crazy experience. That was one of the life-defining moments of my life. Was
really?
Yeah.
Please share.
I flew into Calcutta. I landed there around midnight, and I didn't have a place to stay, and so I decided that it would be wise for me to stay in the airport until it got light out.
Okay.
And because I had no idea what I was doing, and so I remember just sitting in the airport for those 6 hours and having no idea what was outside of those doors, and just what was going to happen. And I think the sun came up around 6 a.m. and I met a few travelers from South Korea and China, and caught a taxi with them, and just stepping out into India was like stepping into just a crazy dream. Just not beyond anything I'd ever experienced in my life. Just the vividness of everything, and all of these new sights and smells and people, and just the sensory overload was intense. I'd never had anything like that. So I think my first few days in Calcutta, I was in shock in some sense, just kind of dazed, looking around, just in utter disbelief of what was going on.
Because there's so much stuff going on, right? Like, I haven't been to India. I've been to like hectic places, big cities in Asia. Like, I don't know, like Bangkok or Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam can be pretty wild, especially there's no cars there at all. It's like one car out of like 100 scooters, so you can't ever cross the road because there's like 15-20 scooters driving in a row. You can't pass because there's you can't plan because there's like so many driving. So but is that the thing? Like it's so much stuff going on, like around you, like people and animals and just stuff.
Yeah,
it
was. I think it was. I'd come. The temperature was also a big difference. It was probably. Oh man, it was at least 40 degrees by the time I showed up. Or probably a little bit more. And then the humidity was just astounding. So every time you walked out, you would be drenched. In seconds.
Okay.
And there were Calcutta's. It really is. It's like a crumbling city. It's kind of. It's like somehow it's still held together. I'm not entirely sure.
Okay.
How? But you just have all of these ancient buildings, all of these ancient Indian buildings, and British colonial era buildings.
Yeah.
And dogs everywhere and cows. And then there's an old car called the Ambassador, which was for a long time it was the only car which you could buy in India. And it's these
a model then.
Yeah.
Okay,
and it's this beautiful ancient car.
Okay.
And so in Calcutta, I believe they're the only taxis that only Ambassador cars can be taxis still.
Okay.
And so they're still everywhere. And I don't know, it lent an interesting feel to the city to just see all these they're almost like, they look like they could be classic cars.
Okay.
Just in the city. That was very strange. And then my first time in an Indian taxi, that was also I think the key to driving in India is you have to place complete trust in your driver.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like you can't be worried about anything, because if you're nervous, you're going to make him nervous.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help anybody. So all you can do is you just have to let go completely and trust that he will get you where you're going.
Yeah.
Which which was a fascinating lesson to learn.
Yeah. Was it scary?
I did really well with the driving.
Okay.
Much better than I thought I would. You just once you let go like that, it seems like it's better. Yeah.
That's the only way to.
It's the only thing you can do, really.
Yeah.
So,
but their English is it good? Like, is it easy to communicate?
I found it pretty. I found it pretty easy to get around, actually.
Like anywhere, or just in big cities, or
in most places.
Okay. So everyone knows a little bit.
I definitely, I wouldn't say everyone. There were I did come into situations where nobody around me knew any English.
Okay.
But I found that I could manage communicating with them without speaking their language, or without them speaking my language.
Yeah.
Yeah, so but in a lot of cases people did speak English, and when there were signs around me, which was rarer than rarer than you'd think, that a lot of the time they would also be in English.
Okay.
So and I think that's because of India's past with Britain.
Yeah.
And kind of just that being sort of a colonial remnant. And also just English being, for a lot of people, a way to communicate with the world.
Yeah.
English as an international language, and a language of tourism and of economics, really.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I see that point, and India has 1 billion people, but those points, it doesn't matter. Like, if you go to China, it's 1.5 billion people, and most people can't speak English, even like in the big cities.
Yeah.
So, like you said, you would think like economy and tourism, and just communicating with the world. You would think like, yeah, okay, most people would know something, or a little bit, but it's like they don't give a fuck. They're like, no, we don't care. We run this how we want. And I was surprised, like, no taxi drivers, like, no one knew any English except for like people selling clothes at this giant marketplaces and at the hotels, like. But because I heard stories that before the Olympics in Beijing, I think it was 2008 or something, they was like trying to educate at least taxi drivers, teaching them English, but they didn't know at all, and they couldn't read like the name in normal letters. They had to be the Chinese signs.
Okay.
So I was really surprised about that fact.
Yeah. I think for India, I definitely think the colonial era has something to do with that.
Yeah,
because
good point.
You would, a lot of the time you would find a mix of people speaking English and Hindi.
Okay.
Yeah, which would be funny because I would be, let's say standing at a bus stop and people would be talking next to me and I could catch, every five out of every 5 words I could understand one.
Yeah.
And it depends on where you come from in India too. There's so many languages and so many cultures within India. So
Yeah.
and some of them I think focus on learning English more than others.
Okay.
So
Calcutta, how long did you stay there for?
I was there for I think maybe 4 or 5 days, something like that. Yeah.
And then. But like, was your plan to travel the country, or because you seemed a bit like upset that you didn't get 6 months, you got 3 months instead? Like,
yeah.
Or what was the plan there?
The plan was I think I flew in April. I think I started my Indian segment in April, and I wanted to try and be there until August, which was when I would have to go home for school.
Okay.
And so that was my original plan, was that I would try and make this last until I had to go.
Okay. Yeah.
And so I also had figured out that I was going to do sort of a yoga intensive in northeast India.
What does that mean, yoga intensive course?
Just like 10 days of just yoga.
Okay.
And teachings and help.
All right.
And so
Do you have any previous experience before that?
No, that was my first time.
Oh, how did it go?
It went really well. It was definitely one of my favorite things that I've ever done, and one of the best things that I feel like I've done for myself, or that people have helped me with, I should say. So
I never tried it. It just seems I'm not very flexible. It seems like I would have problems with that.
I think. Oh man, I think I was extremely I was so out of it. But I think that was more than anything else. That was the main message that I came away with, was just how out of touch I was with my body. And just kind of how adults lose the movement that we all have when we're kids, when we're born. Life kind of, a lot of the time, the way we live our lives, it kind of shapes it's weird, it shapes our bodies.
Oh, okay.
And so that was huge for me to figure that out, just kind of looking at myself and saying, after doing yoga, it was like I would feel more like myself.
Wow.
And, so
can you explain more adults lose touch with their bodies? Like how do you mean? Like muscles, posture,
definitely
because I could see maybe the posture makes our backs go bad and the neck and stuff and over a period of time probably.
Mm-hmm.
Or can you explain?
Yeah. One good example is in India, one thing that people still do everywhere is they squat. Yeah. And squatting is used as it's used everywhere every day. And it's like if you're waiting for the bus stop, you seriously, if you're waiting for the bus stop, you pop a squat and you take out your newspaper, and you sit and read and you wait, and it's like
it just sounds so funny because it's from our society.
Exactly. But I mean, it's
like a way to rest. You're like, I'm just gonna squat.
And we're like,
start
what?
doing this here. That would be awesome.
Oh, I do it. Yeah, I do it when I'm waiting for the metro.
Do you?
Yeah, I think people think I'm a little bit crazy.
That's so funny.
But it's true, and it's really it's very relaxing for your legs, actually.
It is.
And
because if it sounds like it could be like a lot of tension.
Yeah, but I think that's part of it, is that we're so out of balance with how we were when we were kids that something like squatting becomes painful. But for like, I'd see these Indian men in their 70s just squatting for for I don't know how long, and they had no problem with it.
Wow. Maybe
so
that's something you should start doing.
Yeah, no, it's and it's funny, if you look at little kids, they do the same thing. Like they'll just, they'll kind of squat, and they have no problems. They'll squat and kind of look at something on the ground and examine it, and then they'll get up and keep going. And so
that's so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have more examples?
Yeah, well, I mean, also just even how would you put it? Like, yeah, posture is huge, because for a lot of people, like you can't be disconnected from your body. That's the thing, is it's like it can be really hard if you ask, let's say if you have 30 students and you ask them to sit, completely still.
Yeah.
And most of the time people can't do that, because in the modern world, because their bodies they don't know how to do that anymore, like they're totally out of balance, like their neck is way too far forward, or their back bends out because they don't have the strength there. And so if you think of it, that makes people feel very tense.
Yeah. Sure.
Like, even if people just want to relax and just kind of sit for a second and be, it's like their bodies won't allow them to anymore.
Because we're so stressed or something.
Yeah, or just like our body's so out of whack, like it that's why it just, like if you sit at the desk all day with your neck hanging forward, and it just hurts.
That's really fascinating. I never thought about that, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are like, how do you say, hyper, or a little bit stressed all the time.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
And that's the bigger thing is, for me, I don't think yoga is just about, flexibility. It's just about, people, bringing people back into balance. And it's like, it's not about doing, fancy moves or back bends or anything like that. It's so people can feel at home in themselves. So I thought it was really good for me to experience that.
Yeah. I mean, I've never done yoga, but I feel like when I work out, both strength training and like cardio running or something, like then you also get a good posture and you use your whole body.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of good ways now, like with kettlebells, like you do full body movement, like you strengthen your whole body. You use like your whole body as a tool.
Yeah.
I feel that also helps a lot. Maybe not as much as yoga, but it's definitely better than not doing anything.
No, and that's that full body aspect of that's really important.
Yeah.
I think as well, and that's something yoga talks about is the whole body. And a lot of the time in let's say the West, there's kind of we have these concepts of what strength is, and people with these huge arm muscles and like huge upper chest, but it's it seems for a lot of those people they're out of balance as well, because it's like if you're really top heavy, then you also can't sit still.
Yeah.
Like that's it doesn't really balance out, and so those sometimes those people end up in the same situations as if you had if you were weak, really.
Yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from. That's interesting. I mean, now I just can't sit still because I'm so hungover. Like, my posture is really, really shit. I feel like a haystack, but it's just for now. I actually have a pretty okay posture, and I can sit still.
Yeah,
I do meditate almost every day, so I've learned that. So I'm not completely hopeless. I think. No,
and that's the thing about yoga is it's like I think it shows anybody that nobody's completely hopeless, and I think sometimes in the West like yoga becomes a huge display of kind of physical prowess, just like any other sport. But I don't think it doesn't have to be that way for, it's just I think primarily it's to help people.
Cool.
So yeah.
So from Calcutta you went to this yoga thing.
I first actually went to Bodh Gaya, which is one of it's where the Buddha attained enlightenment. And so there's a huge temple complex there, and then there's the city of Gaya, which is kind of around it.
Yeah.
So I was there for maybe 3 or 4 days, and then I went to Varanasi, which is Varanasi was was crazy. that was maybe the dirtiest place I've ever been, but also one of the most alive. There was something in the air in Varanasi that was just exploding. I don't know what it was, but I really I loved that place. It was bloody hot though. Yeah. So I was in Varanasi for maybe 5 days, and then I arrived in Delhi for just I think a night or two, and then I went to the yoga retreat, which was in the foothills in the Himalayas.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Seems like the best place to do it.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
No, it did, because it wasn't so hot. And it was up in a little bit up in the mountains, so the air was much better than on the plains.
Because it's very polluted in India, right?
Yeah. It was when you were in the big cities, and even some of the smaller ones, you could never see the sun clearly.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because there were clouds. It was just so much smog everywhere. Which that was also very difficult.
Yeah.
And to think that it's just crazy to realize that people maybe have spent their whole lives and have never actually seen the sun.
Wow.
Like the sun itself, just kind of like a smog. Yeah, some kind of like yellowish gray their whole lives.
A bit sad.
Yeah, it is. It was very. The big cities in India are very intense.
Yeah.
So,
it seems like it's like India is different. Like the cities could be different, but just hearing you talking about it sounds like you just hit different levels of intensity and like poverty and dirt. Dirty places. It's like, is that a good assumption?
Yeah. I think. It would just, there would be periods where like, wow, I can't see anything more ridiculous than this, and then something would come along to just totally top that. Like I would walk through a street in Delhi, and they would be kind of like opening up the sewers, and they'd be like dredging out all the raw sewage, just like right onto this open air street, and it was just.
What?
Yeah, it was just crazy to see, and people.
God.
Yeah, and people living around and in that all the time.
Yeah.
So, it just blew my mind. But
maybe that's what we're supposed to do. We should just do it here as well, like the sewers on the street.
Yes. No. Oh man. But I think one of the questions that always would continue to go through my mind is one thing about India is that it just lays it all out in front of you. It's just like this is what life is, and there's you can't get away from it here. Like this, it will just continue.
There's no covering up.
Exactly, and we can look at a picture of an Indian street and say, wow, that's so dirty. Like you guys have plastic wrappers everywhere, and this is really, you guys need to clean this up. But I don't know. I don't know if it's better that in the West, we put it in these little plastic baggies all neatly wrapped up, and then we take it outside of the city and then we bury it. You know, like I don't know. I don't think that's necessarily better because it doesn't really seem to work either.
No, I can see your point. I know in Scandinavia though we have like I think one of the world's best places for recycling and taking care of garbage.
Yeah, no,
But,
definitely.
We could always get better. And I get your point that we're a bit ignorant. Like we do this, we put it out, and we just pretend it gets taken care of. And it's recycled. My new bike is probably from my own. So we have this weird perception of like everything. Just we do our job that's we've been told, and then everything is fine.
Yeah, and I do, but I do think that on the other hand, like Indian culture really, it seemed like many Indians just contributed to the dirtiness of the place. It was like if somebody ate a candy, the wrapper would go on the ground. There was no even if there were trash cans all around, and there were definitely situations where that happened. It was like they'd just chuck it.
Yeah.
And so I think it also is that is a cultural thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to untangle all of it.
Yeah. So after this yoga retreat, where did you go?
I went to. I ended up going to. Let's think. To Amritsar, which is the kind of the center of the Sikh religion. And ended up there for maybe 4 or 5 days as well. And
so in total you did the whole 2.5-3 months in India.
Yeah. I ended up what I did in the end was I was there for about 3 months, and then I went to Nepal and got a new visa and then came back.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you could actually stay the full length that you planned.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you did like a visa run thingy to Nepal.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it worked out. Yeah, it really did.
So from where in India did you travel to Nepal? Like from which city?
Darjeeling, which is
it a border town?
Yes and no. Darjeeling it's in this weird little tiny pocket of India between Nepal, China, and Bhutan. And so you can't actually get to Nepal directly from Bhutan, or directly from Darjeeling, I think. Okay. So I had to go back down and over. But that was the Darjeeling area was where I entered Nepal. So the east side of Nepal.
Okay. Did you go by train or bus or?
I took a bus to Kathmandu.
Yeah.
And then
how long was that?
Ooh. Maybe 19 hours.
19?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I think so. I think we left really early morning and we got in fairly late. Yeah.
Sounds like an intense trip.
Yeah, that was a lot. Taking buses in the Himalayas. That's a very intense venture. So
because of the landscape or the bad buses or a mix?
The landscape and the roads, and the buses. It was just, it was just again though. You would have to trust all you could do in the end was trust your driver, because you had no other choice. Like you couldn't hop out. You couldn't hop out and walk to Kathmandu. I mean, you could, but it would take a long time. So, you just kind of sat through it, and you were like, yeah, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
And it worked out. It worked out for me. So,
how's the border crossing into Nepal?
Really easy.
Yeah. Okay.
Really, really easy.
Did you need a visa for Nepal as well?
I did. But they give you can get a visa on arrival. So you basically you just cross the border, and fill out a form, and they say, all right, you get a visa.
Cool.
So that was nice that it was so easy. Yeah, and I think it was pretty inexpensive for the visa for Nepal as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how long did you stay in Kathmandu for?
The first time I was only there for a week.
Okay. What did you do in Kathmandu? Like, is there anything to see?
Yeah.
Or do?
Yeah, Kathmandu is basically, it's just in, it's a huge valley. It's just like, you could think of, there's Kathmandu Valley. Mm-hmm. And what happened was, it was all of these little villages that over time just kind of conglomerated together and became a big city.
Okay.
And so
different sections or different parts.
Yeah. There's and then there's kind of the center of Kathmandu, and then as you spread out towards the edges of the valley, towards the mountains, it'll become more agricultural and more nature. Mm-hmm. And so
is there anything to do, or like is it cool just to hang out to Kathmandu, or like if you go to Nepal, and I mean, it seems like heading for the mountains is something you should do, like go hiking, but is like Kathmandu a cool place in itself?
I think I definitely understand why people just they leave Kathmandu and do the nature thing. Yeah. The area of Kathmandu that I was in, which is called Tamil, which is it's very touristic.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a little bit frustrating for me after a while.
Many tourists or just touristic?
Yeah. There weren't so many tourists because of the time that I was there. There were actually there were a lot of Chinese there because of the timing. Yeah. Which was an interesting phenomenon to watch. But I just think a huge business had grown up in that area around serving tourists, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it wasn't very exciting.
Yeah,
I
get your point.
It wasn't very raw, and so
you left Kathmandu after a week.
For that first week, I stayed because I had to wait for the visa.
Yeah,
and so I guess I could have left on a day trip and come back, but I was also at that point, I think I'd been traveling for 9 months.
Yeah.
And so I was pretty exhausted. Yeah. So part of me was it was all right with just sitting in Kathmandu for a week.
Yeah.
Just kind of regathering because and just so many bus rides and I knew when my visa was approved, I was going to go to far north India, really far north, to see the Dalai Lama, and to go to kind of this old province of Tibet. And so
that is cool.
But I did the whole thing. I ended up doing the whole thing by bus. Yeah, by bus. And so it was I knew it was going to be a really long journey. So
when was this? Was this when you came back to India?
Yeah.
So you traveled from Nepal back into India and then up to the north.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you went by bus? There are no trains in India, yeah?
There definitely are.
But you just chose bus.
Because because of the timing.
Okay.
For some reason, I tried to take trains at a few different points, but it didn't end up working. And once you get far enough north in India, there really aren't trains anymore.
Okay.
And so the sections where I would have normally taken trains, it really didn't work out. And so I just ended up taking buses. So
you went, how far north in Nepal did you go?
In Nepal?
No, sorry, in India.
In India, I went to the northernmost province of India.
Okay. And what was the town?
The town is called Leh.
Okay.
it's the capital of Ladakh, which is the province.
Okay.
And it was originally part of Tibet, but somehow when
So India's claimed or taken that part now.
Yeah.
It is in India, yeah.
Yeah, for some reason it became part of India during the transition from British colonialism.
Okay.
I'm not sure how, but so in that way it is it's interesting because it's kind of the last stronghold of Tibetan culture.
Yeah.
Because I mean when China's invasion in the end of the 50s.
Yeah.
And so that was really interesting to kind of experience Tibetan culture.
Okay, so you totally have Tibetan culture up north.
Very much so. Most of the people who are up there are either Tibetan, or there's also, because it's so close to the Chinese border and then relatively close to the Pakistan border, there's a large military presence up there as well.
But is it close to Kashmir?
Yes. Yeah, it's northeast of Kashmir.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay. But so what was the purpose of traveling up there?
They had it depends, but recently every 2 years, I think, the Dalai Lama has been giving this initiation called the Kala Chakra initiation, which is just like it's a celebration, and it's like like basically a huge blessing.
Cool.
Yeah, and just kind of a cultural event. Pardon me. And yeah, so it seems like he has those at a different place every 2 years. And I think he's having one this year in Bodh Gaya, which was one of the first places I went.
So did you actually see him?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, he gave.
Did you take a selfie?
No.
Just kidding.
He was there for, I think, like 10 days, 9 or 10 days, and he was giving teachings for maybe 3 or 4 of those, and then kind of doing the initiation and the blessings for the other days.
But like the teachings, like you're a crowd and he's reading something to you, or how does that work?
Yeah, it was basically that was the basic setup. Like it was this huge sort of tent setup, and it was bloody hot. And it's crazy because,
but they served beer, right?
No Chang, no Tibetan beer.
No.
No, but it was just crazy because the elevation is so high up there too.
Okay, so the air is a bit thinner.
Yeah, and it's so dry. I mean, my lips were just like just a bloody mess, really.
Okay.
It was, I think, because I don't know what it is in meters, but it was 12,000 feet, I think, is what Ladakh is.
I would say
maybe like 3,500 meters.
Yeah.
I think, something like
3,500 or 4,000.
Yeah. So it was, so that was a lot.
Yeah.
But he would, so he would give, he was giving teachings on kind of an older Buddhist text. So he was reading it, and then he would also talk to us. And most of the people there were Tibetan, but he also had, there was also kind of like a foreigner section, and he would talk to us sometimes, and it was just he was such a great presence to be around. And
must have been some cool vibes there going on.
Yeah, and he had such a good laugh. That was one of my favorite parts. Yeah, it was just like, it's just this beautiful chuckle. So and he always smiling and just kind of just being there. He was always just, I really enjoyed that.
Cool.
Really enjoyed him. So that was good.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was
cool.
And it was interesting to be, because people had traveled from all over Ladakh, all over the province to be there, and so that was also really cool because you still had all of these kind of herders, Tibetan herders coming in, people from all walks of life coming to hear the teaching. So that was also just to see some of them were just so beautiful, like all of these ancient Tibetan people. Yeah. Just to see how they had been kind of weathered by their world. They just, some of their faces were, I've never seen anything so beautiful.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
But was there a lot of tourists like coming in for this event as well?
I think there were a fair number. So that
you
was
were like in sections. You had the American flag.
No, they did. They put all the tourists in one spot.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think it seems as though there were a fair number of Americans, or not Americans. Well, there were a fair number of Americans, but just internationals in general.
Okay. Yeah. How many people would you estimate?
Oh,
a couple of thousand.
I think there were 40,000 at the whole event.
Okay.
Yeah, something like that.
Because places like India, China is like, no, it was 30 million.
Yeah,
seems like there's so many people.
No, like I think the one before there were maybe 150,000.
Oh wow.
But I think the reason was because Ladakh it's so remote, it's so far away from everything that's why there were less people, because you really had to want to make the journey to Ladakh to go there. Yeah, because the bus ride from India is the highest navigable highway in the world.
Really?
Yeah, I think you go over 18,000 foot passes. I don't know. Yeah, so that's maybe like 5,000 meters.
Yeah.
Something like
that.
So
that's high.
That was astounding. And half of the road was not paved. It was just gravel.
Wow.
So it was again just complete trust in your driver.
Yeah, not a good place if you're like car sick.
No, and I get very, very car sick. So
you do?
Yeah.
How did you survive?
I was just a lot of pain. Yeah, I was just.
You must have taken something.
No.
How do you survive that if you're car sick? It sounds like the worst nightmare.
It was
torture.
The what I ended up doing is it's better if you don't eat. So I would just I would not eat very much. Yeah, pretty much. I would just not eat and then just kind of try and stay as calm as I could.
I thought you were joking. I'm actually very car sick. I'm like, you can't be if you're in the worst road and highest.
No, that was one of the hardest, definitely the hardest parts of my trip, because I was just so out of it, by the end.
You must have really wanted it then.
Yeah,
to get there.
Yeah, I wanted to see it. Yeah, so I think thinking back, I probably overextended myself a little bit there.
Yeah,
but
you made it.
I did. I made it, and I saw the whole thing. So,
and you have an awesome Dalai Lama story.
Exactly. Yeah, and I saw Ladakh is it's like a high desert. It's really, but it looks like you could be on the moon. I've never seen a landscape like that. And it's funny because in some ways it was like the outback, just kind of those vast stretches of space and nobody, I took a car from Ladakh to Kashmir after this.
Okay.
And so we crossed all of Ladakh in order to get there, and that was...
Why did you go to Kashmir?
What?
Why did you go to Kashmir?
I wanted to see Srinagar, the capital.
Just heard it's a dangerous place.
Oh, Kashmir?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think...
it's a bit unstable.
I think, in my experience, I met a lot of good people in Kashmir. I think the difficulty is that it was... Before it became part of India, it was really it was really a fiercely independent place.
Yeah.
And it's also, religiously, a lot of people are Muslim.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that's part of the tensions with India in general. And then with it being so close to Pakistan, there's a huge military presence there too.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think all of those things together really were they kind of they made it more unstable, or seemingly more unstable
with
to
our
outsiders.
presence.
Yeah, and so.
But so this place you were going to, I don't remember the name.
Srinagar.
Srinagar.
Yeah.
Okay. And what's that place?
Srinagar is it's the capital of Kashmir, and it's got it's on a beautiful lake. And so what's happened is that they have all of these houseboats, all of these kind of living boats on the lake.
Wow.
And so I think in the old days, I think people used to live on the boats, but now they're basically, I mean, in a lot of ways they're like floating guest houses, so you can go
cool.
out there and stay. Yeah.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So you would just you were sitting in this boat and then surrounded by lotuses, and then other boats around, and then if you wanted to go to the mainland, then you would just hop on a canoe and go and then walk around downtown Srinagar and then come back.
Wow.
Yeah.
How is it to spend a night like sleeping on a houseboat, or the like really big platforms, so you can't really feel like it's moving?
Yeah, it's really calm. I mean, it felt wonderful. I didn't even feel like if I hadn't known I was on a houseboat, I wouldn't have thought that by sleeping.
No, but I mean, sleeping on a boat it seems like something different, like a houseboat.
Mm-hmm.
But can you feel it like rocking or moving at all, or is it just still like, is it that big?
I think it's.
Or is it just?
It was just very gentle.
Okay.
And they're quite large. Like you have you're staying on the boat, and then several other people, and then also the family as well.
Okay.
So they're large. And I don't really know. I don't think they move. They're virtually stationary. The big houseboats, and then everybody uses these little wooden canoes to kind of get around.
Yeah.
That was crazy to watch too. Just like all of these old Kashmiri guys just zipping around the lake on these little wooden canoes, and you would try and paddle, and you would just be exhausted, and you'd have no idea how these guys. They were just so good at it. But I mean, they'd also they'd spent their lives on the water, so
it's a special technique.
Yeah, there must be.
Yeah.
But their posture, they had it down. It was perfect. So that was probably part of it.
Awesome. So was that how you ended your trip?
Let's think. After that was pretty much the end of India. I went back after that. I went back down to Delhi. And I was going to meet up with a friend in Nepal. So actually, I went back to Nepal.
Okay.
And he was finishing up some volunteer work to the northwest of Kathmandu, and so I met him in Pokhara, which is in western central Nepal.
Okay.
And hung out with him there for a couple of days, and then we went back to Kathmandu because he had to kind of finish up with his team, and then we ended up going back to Pokhara for a few days before leaving. So just because, Pokhara was a really good spot, and it was nice to just kind of unwind and relax and not have to be in the big city.
Yeah. Okay. Good place for just relaxing.
Yeah. In terms of Nepal, that was perfect because it was easy to get there from Kathmandu, and there was, there's definitely there's a huge tourism industry there, so you know, it was easy to find a place and have safe food and just kind of sit for a bit.
Okay. Just a general question, like, did you research a lot before? Like, how did you know all the places to go to? Did you, like, when you were there, since you were traveling by yourself, just talking to people and getting recommendations, or how did you do it?
Yeah, I think it was a mix of both, but a lot of it was talking to people.
Yeah. And they're like, you have to check out this place.
Yeah. And I think for me, after a little while, it became kind of a quest to get off the beaten path and find places where there weren't a lot of tourists, because that definitely can and does happen in India, where you just have these areas where it's just, you know, clusters of tourists hanging out. And I found that those places, they were good places to recuperate and kind of, you know, hang out. If you were feeling really alone and you needed to talk to people, those were good places to go, because you could do that. But they also weren't very raw. Like, they were missing some part of the Indian experience.
Yeah,
they were a little bit too cut off. And so a lot of tourists end up just going to those places and spending a lot of time there. And so after a while, I really tried to get away from those.
So you really recommend people to, like, try to get out of the normal big touristy places?
Yeah, just because I think if you're gonna go, you know, if you're gonna make the journey to go to around the world, really, if you're gonna make that, I think if what you're looking for is to really have these deep experiences with other cultures, you really you got to make sure that you're willing to step out of the bubble and jump into that, because
I totally agree.
It's almost like those touristic places, after a while, they become a lot like Western places. Like they serve Western food, and there's alcohol everywhere, and, you know, cheap weed, and so you can just kind of sit, and you in some ways it's like you haven't left the couch at home.
Yeah, no, I totally get your point.
So
it's a good point.
But it's also like those places are, I would say, generally safer. Yeah. And so I think if people are worried about heading out into kind of the bigger India, I totally understand, because it's so overwhelming. Yeah.
But you really recommend it?
Yeah. Yeah, because that's where I had the best conversations with people, the best experiences. That's where I learned the most was in those experiences.
It's cool. Yeah. Do you think you'll ever go back?
Yeah. I think
go somewhere else.
I think I'll go other places first.
Yeah. But one day.
Yeah. You know, I think it would be fascinating to go back, let's say in 20 years. Yeah. Because, oh man, I could just see it being a whole different world. A whole different world in 20 years, you know, like every place is changing so fast now.
Yeah. But just India or Nepal too?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think I didn't get a chance to get out hiking in Nepal, to get out trekking. Yeah. And so I would definitely do that if I went back. I would go in, because the Himalayas are just magical. Yeah. I got into them a little bit when I was in India, and I loved it. And so I think if I went back to India, maybe I would go to the south. Yeah. Because I didn't get to see that. And then if I went back to Nepal, I would go trekking, because it would be wonderful.
Cool. So do you have any other big trips coming up now when you finish with your studies? Anything planned?
I don't have anything planned. Bedrock right now. School will finish in June, and then I'll see where I'm at then. See where I'm at with funds and job opportunities and where friends are living. But I would really, I'd love to experience more of Europe, outside of Scandinavia.
So you think but do you have to go back when you're done, or do you think you're gonna stay around here and work and for a while, or
I think
you have to go back?
I don't have to go back.
Okay.
And so that's really good.
Yeah.
Is I don't really have any strings kind of keeping me there right now. Besides friends and family.
Yeah.
Those are the things. And so it'll be really nice to graduate here and then have an opportunity to experience this part of the world with very few restrictions. And so I definitely want to do that. It'll come to, when it comes to that point, I'll have to decide where I want to leap.
Yeah. It's really cool, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot for doing this.
Of course, you're very welcome.
Yeah, and maybe we can do it in the future as well.
Yeah, just let me know.
Come back again. All right, thanks a lot, man.
Of course.
Thanks for listening, everybody, whoever you are. I'll see you soon. Bye.